After all the 90s Batmans we flipped through them pretty often, and some of them were good, some of them were not so good, but in 2005 Christopher Nolan
decided to chill.
Yeah, his take on Batman came out, the Batman Begins, and what started off as one movie that was, if I remember correctly, not really critically accepted.
Very well.
Very well.
Because
and at that point, he's making a trilogy, and the first one wasn't that good. What on earth are people thinking? And then in 2008, we got The Dark Knight. But what really sets this trilogy apart ended up being the second movie, but it wasn't really the second movie that set it apart. One, action marked this trilogy as probably one of the best trilogies. The death of Heath Ledger. Let's not kid ourselves. Everybody was sad about it. Me probably first. I love Heath's work, but his death defined this franchise more than Christian Bale, more than Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, or Christopher Nolan ever could.
Or even Hans Zimmer.
Even Hans Zimmer, who did the score
for all three movies.
Batman Begins came out. It was a story of the rich Bruce Wayne,
yeah,
as he travels around the world, does stuff, and finally comes back, becomes Batman and whatnot. I mean, you can really go into detail with it, but we're gonna skip the first one just for this moment. Back then I was in high school. Back then I had a lot of friends who actually watched movies, and when I told them there's gonna be a second movie, they weren't really enthusiastic about it, and quite frankly nobody else was, because people did not like Batman Begins. And then a man took his life, and then all of a sudden his next movie became the best movie ever seen, and it wasn't even seen at that point. Nobody knew what it was gonna about. Everybody knew he played the Joker in the movie, but nobody saw the movie. Yet it was the best movie never to be seen.
Yeah.
At that point. Then The Dark Knight came out, and everybody's expectations were blown out of the water, because really it was a good movie. And then in 2012,
yep.
The Dark Knight Rises, the infamous end of the trilogy, came out, and again people weren't really satisfied, probably because Heath Ledger didn't die again before this one.
We may sound like we're poking fun, but trust us,
probably not.
We're very serious about this trilogy.
The 2005 to 2012, take any movie out of any trilogy, this movie did it better. The story's better, the acting's better, the visual effects are probably better. I might be over exaggerating here because Marvel did some stuff back there, but here's the thing, these movies were so good as a whole. Christopher Nolan had a picture from the start to the finish, and he executed it perfectly.
Agreed.
And forever, and I really do mean forever, his work, while it might be appreciated, is always going to be undervalued because of Heath Ledger. That being said, and that's why people think the second one is the best one. I strongly disagree with that. I like the movie, but I think Dark Knight Rises is way better movie than Dark Knight. You probably disagree with me, it's alright. You want to talk about movies now?
Batman Begins?
Let's start at the beginning.
Let's start at the beginning. Listen, back in 2000s, like, we didn't get to go to cinema very often, so we saw Batman Begins and The Dark Knight a lot later than most people have. So, and this was the time of when movie tickets started becoming more expensive, and 3D was being introduced more and more, and we were kind of late to the party as far as Batman Begins goes. However, once we saw it, it was a pretty cool story of Batman's origin. I mean,
at least I did see it before The Dark Knight came out.
Yes. Listen, it takes Batman's origin story, like, yeah, we get the same Thomas and Martha Kent dying in an alleyway, and little Bruce Wayne being taken in by his butler Alfred, aka Michael Caine, in this trilogy, taking him in and just raising him up. And then Bruce Wayne rebels and wants to find, much like I think Zack Snyder took a page out of Nolan's book in more ways than another, because Bruce Wayne practically goes on a journey around the world to not just find himself, but to start this journey of what that even he's not sure what he wants to do, because he knows he wants to become Batman, but he's just not sure how that's gonna happen. And he gets introduced to the League of the Shadows in this iteration, which is basically League of the Assassins. But he gets introduced to Ra's al Ghul, who trains him up to become this warrior that we later become familiar with as Batman, right? And once he finishes his training, he goes back to Gotham City, realizes his city is in trouble, needs not just someone to, I don't know, spruce the town up, because town isn't just being rotting down just from the buildings and people. It's crime is coming in, people are not safe on the streets, someone needs to take out the trash. And so, because of his great fear for the bats, and because of his training with the League of Shadows, he decides to take his fear and turn it into something that others will fear. And pretty soon we get Batman. And the villain that they introduce in this movie is not one we've seen in the movies before, but anyone who's read the Batman comic book or watched any of the animated series knows Scarecrow, knows how evil that dude is, how psychopathic he is, and how easy his schemes can work, and how terrible of an influence they will have on a person, even if they by some chance survive, because they usually all end up dead. So seeing Scarecrow gives a horror aspect to Batman that we're not used to seeing in the movies, not even in the Tim Burton's iteration.
We get a nice dark version of it.
We see Batman as he's supposed to be, pretty much, because Batman is a dark character. Gotham is a dark city. It's always...
There was always a darker undertone to Batman, and to see it expressed in such a way was a pleasure to look at, I guess. Pleasure to see. Really, all of a sudden you watch Batman and you're like, okay, now this is Batman.
Yeah, and seeing Batman not really team up, but make Jim Gordon, the commissioner of Gotham Police Department, aware of his existence, really gives another tone to like what vigilantism could really look like in real life.
And speaking of the commish and the actors in general, Gary Oldman does a fantastic job throughout the series. Definitely.
And let's not even get into that one scene with that one kid who's a big fan of Batman and later on becomes King Joffrey. Anyways, Game of Thrones aside, Batman Begins is overall, to me, I'm not gonna say it's the weakest of the trilogy, but to me it's I like watching it, I like it for what it is, but
here's
to me
the thing
it's
about it.
least favorite of the three movies.
What you have to take into account is that Christopher Nolan was doing a trilogy, and that Christopher Nolan knew that he was doing a trilogy, and so he had a plan. And you kind of ease the people in, and if you want to ease somebody into a movie, especially in the trilogy, Batman Begins does the job. It shows you Batman how you actually wanted to see him.
Yeah.
You always wanted to watch this Batman, you just never knew this was the Batman you wanted to watch until he made it.
And just the fact that they show how Batman actually does begin, like how he finds his suit, how he gets Lucius Fox, Morgan Freeman to help him out, like in Wayne Enterprises, right? They have this whole department that's not being used at all, but for some reason Lucius Fox is still employed, still does the work there. And has all this cool, not just gadgets and suits, but also vehicles and other stuff that Bruce Wayne takes and uses for his own purposes to bring peace to Gotham City. And then Lucius Fox actually discovering what Bruce Wayne is actually doing is also cool. I mean, when the guy helping you out, I mean, that's when he realizes, I know what you're doing. I mean, that in itself is like one of those moments that will go down in movie history. So it's one of the best moments ever. So later on, Ra's al Ghul somehow surfaces in New York, and stuff happens.
At this point, Bruce Wayne has truly become Batman, if you would. He's operating on the streets of Gotham. And then Ra's al Ghul shows up, and then
let's not forget mentioning Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, because I mean, I think Batman Begins was really precursor to Liam Neeson's middle-aged action movies craze.
More like his action movie renaissance,
Yeah,
if you would.
definitely.
And then we kind of see that all this time, Ra's al Ghul he was directly influencing what Scarecrow did. You find out that he is actually the main villain in the movie, and that he's been pulling the strings on everything that was happening around Gotham, because he wants to bring the layer of the... There was a saying he does, but can't remember. He actually wants to destroy Gotham. He finds a way to destroy Gotham, and Batman figures out what it is, and tries to stop him, and actually stops him in the end. He actually destroys.
Yeah, this is spoiler. Sorry if we didn't warn you.
Yeah. He destroys a whole bunch of stuff, and in the process does something that we don't get to see in Man of Steel. He doesn't kill the main villain.
Yeah.
So, because he's not like him.
Yeah, but
so
they both killed people in comic books, so whatever.
Anyways, he starts the plot to destroy Gotham and to poison the city's water supply using Scarecrow's scary gas, fear gas, whatever it was.
Fear gas.
Fear gas, and that's where we see the end of the movie, and then the post-credit scene or mid-credit scene, whatever.
No, it was the
last
scene in the movie. There was no post-credit scenes in these movies.
So anyways, while all the hassle and tassel around Gotham was happening, one of the things that was blown up was the local jail. And among the escaped convicts that the Gotham PD was still rounding up was the infamous Joker.
And at the end of the Batman Begins, we see
Gary Oldman hands
Joker card to Batman
and says, "We need your help finding this guy."
And then
enter Act 2.
Before we even, I mean, let's just say that the first scene of The Dark Knight is one of the best scenes, not just any heist movie could possibly have, but it's one of the best scenes ever in any movie ever made.
Opening scene.
Opening scenes.
I mean, you could have put that anywhere in the movie.
Gotham City bank heist is amazing. Like from beginning to start. I mean, just the whole, like
every aspect of it. You know, you open the door, I kill you. I open the door, the other guy kills me. And by that time, there's only like 2 people alive, and he's like, "So you kill me?" No, look, I killed the bus driver. Bus driver.
Yeah. Anyways,
if you're gonna get introduced to the Joker,
that
does it.
Definitely.
Definitely does it.
Describes him to a T, and what Heath Ledger did with the Joker is also superb, to say the least.
Listen, at that point we had Jack Nicholson, who was a serious Joker, but he was
not really. He was more of a psychopathic, lunatic kind of a Joker, in my opinion. To me,
but to have this
Heath Ledger, but Heath Ledger channeled Mark Hamill's animated Joker version. So,
to some degree.
To some degree, because Mark Hamill made the Joker what he was supposed to be. Jack Nicholson's Joker to me pales in comparison to Heath Ledger and Mark Hamill, even though Mark Hamill's was only voice-wise, even though the people who animated him, yeah, definitely.
He really did.
Like if you see Mark Hamill,
did a heck of a job.
If you see Mark Hamill anywhere do his Joker, like like if you
now
see
it gets
any of
even
his
better
videos,
because there's a raspy voice to it.
Because he's so older. So yeah. Anyways, Heath Ledger did a great job with the Joker, and yeah. At
this point, we're introduced to a couple of new characters. We get the
Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent character comes up, and as he joins forces with Gary Oldman's Commissioner
to
Gordon to clean the streets of Gotham
from crime that is
and they get a lot of help from Batman, but everything he does is sort of behind the scenes. He helps him out,
and everything that he does is actually frowned upon because the only way to clean Gotham is to do it by the book, and Batman is doing everything he's doing is off the books, even though he has support from Gary Oldman and Harvey Dent.
But Harvey Dent kind of figures out, like, if I really want to clean the cities, we need.
Do you remember what his slogan was?
No, but he's like, we need a public face of it, but we also need somebody working behind the scenes. The public face was Harvey Dent, but everything that happened behind the scenes was actually Batman.
Yep.
Batman will stop him, and Harvey Dent would prosecute him, and they'd end up in jail. And speaking of Harvey Dent,
aka Two-Face, and it was cool seeing Two-Face in this movie too. Like, he becomes Two-Face in a way.
But Aaron Eckhart, does a great job. Definitely. I was always a fan of the guy. I watched some of his earlier works, but to see him as Harvey Dent, every casting that happened with this franchise, with this trilogy, he was on point.
Well, I would argue that Katie Moss getting replaced with whoever was Katie Holmes. To me, changing of the female.
Mary Gyllenhaal did it.
Yeah, Gyllenhaal, yeah. I mean, they both did a great job. I mean, and
but it was really seeing it happen.
They definitely played the same role. Like, you could see they were playing the same characters. So, like, other than that,
once it happens,
it was
in between movies. It's like, okay, what happened to the Katie Holmes character? Well, she's there, but just played by different actors.
Yeah, but
and at this point, Joker is trying to. Not really unite the underground, if you would, more like control it and get underground to rebel against Batman and at this point we get a whole cat and mouse thing between Batman and Joker, and while we do
because in order for Harvey Dent to absolutely clean the city, Joker has to go, and the only guy who can find him and catch him and get rid of him is the Batman. So yeah, there's a cat and mouse game, and when we did Circle, we talked about how he actually finds him. Like, he connects to all the cameras and all the cell phones and all the microphones in the city and finds him. And there's a moment with him and Lucius Fox. And
at this point, there's a lot of Joker is trying to get Batman to become evil, sort of. Because he understands that in order for Batman to stop him, Batman really has to stop him. And then Joker's trying to figure out, will he, won't he? And you see that playing off on screen. It's just brilliant.
Because Joker wants Batman to replace him once Batman takes care of him, because Harvey Dent is already rising up. So if Batman becomes evil, Harvey Dent's gonna be there to stop him anyway. So, like, his purpose in life would be complete. And there was a great scene with the Joker, like putting two bombs on two boats, one with innocent civilians and the other one with convicts, and then it's all about Batman also stopping those two bombs from blowing one of those boats up. But Joker also put a caveat in there, like, you have to blow one of these boats has to go, and one of you has to blow the other. And then the prisoner boat, like, once, what's Debo's name? I forget. But
Tiny Lister.
Yeah, Tiny Lister. Like, once he gets up and says, "Push that button and I'll kill," like, you'll have to deal with me. Listen, I don't care who you are. Once you see Tiny Lister in your face telling you to not do something, you don't do anything.
But at this point, there's a lot of.
But there's a conflict with Lucius Fox. Like, he leaves Batman because he decided to plug in every recording device in the city to find Joker, and which is something that is, like, we're not supposed to exchange our privacy in exchange for safety, right? So it's like Batman not only exchanges that, but he also forcefully does it without anyone's consent, and that's where Lucius Fox sees the issue, because like he's okay with
even
Batman.
though he destroys it at the end because he only wanted
Because
to use
that
it
was-
to catch
That
Joker.
was the that
And
was
at this point, Harvey Dent already became Two-Face.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing.
and he was in the hospital, and he wasn't really trying to do anything. He was just, I don't know, wallowing in his own pain and grief and guilt and whatnot. And turns out that he's a villain, and in the end, Batman does one thing that any hero should be doing, and he decides to sacrifice himself in order for City to accept Harvey Dent as its savior and label Batman as the villain. And that's kind of where the movie ends. And
with that fantastic scene of Commissioner Gordon, if you would, telling his son that yes, Batman is on the run, but at the same time that he is the hero that the city needs.
And that was a great ending.
But in order to save the legacy of Harvey Dent, Batman has to take the fault for Harvey's death, basically.
Yeah.
And hence the movie ends, and we kind of wonder, okay, now what? And
now we get to the
4 years later.
4 years, and in the real world, in the Batman Dark Knight universe, it's about 8 years, I think, passes by. 7 or 8.
What? Might be even 10, I think.
No, it was less than that.
But at that point, you get a like.
Batman's been gone for years.
Yeah, but in the dark.
Bruce Wayne decided to lock himself up and into his room and not see anyone, let alone talk to anybody. We only see Alfred like talking to other people in Bruce Wayne's name, because obviously he can do that for some reason. I don't think anybody asked for proof of Bruce Wayne's life even. They all know that he's alive, even though...
But you know, at this point he's a billionaire, so the people don't question much what he does. But at the same time, so we of course entered into the Dark Knight Rises territory. To me, it is the best movie in the trilogy. I know it's far-fetched, especially after Dark Knight did everything, but I liked it that much more.
Definitely.
But no
I can't
matter how
say
you
I don't
feel,
love it. I love this movie.
no matter how you feel about it, at the same time, it is a great conclusion.
Definitely.
To the trilogy.
Listen, people say that it's not connected, that it goes all over the place, that there are plot holes. Honestly, whenever I watch this movie, I never see any plot holes. I mean, I look for them, but I don't really notice them. There may be one or two that are like really small, so I don't really consider them as like major things to be concerned about. And the entire plot is like, it's all about saving the city again, because Bane comes in straight out of nowhere, and Tom Hardy playing him like, I have no idea how he managed to pull that off with that mask on his face at all time. But like he said,
I go as far as say Tom Hardy's Bane is as epic as...
I agree. I
Joker.
Definitely agree. Listen, anything's better than the campy version we got in Batman and Robin. So.
And again, there's a subtlety to it, because the old movie long, you're shown one villain and you think, okay, this is the villain because everything makes sense. This guy is the villain, and then you find out that this guy really isn't the main villain. This guy is just working for another villain.
He's just a henchman. Very powerful henchman, mind you. So.
But he shows up in Gotham, and he actually knows exactly where to hit Batman. He knows where Batman keeps his stash.
It goes so far that the entire city needs to be blockaded from the rest of the country, isolated from the rest of the country. Nobody's allowed to go in or go out. If you're in Gotham, well, sucks you to be on this day. So things happen. This city is going to be destroyed.
Disappears. At this point, I'm not. Yeah, I think Bruce Wayne comes back as Batman to try to stop Bane, but gets his back broken in an epic way, straight out of comic book, if you would.
Definitely.
And next thing you know, Bruce Wayne with the broken back ends up in the same pit, shithole, if you would, that Bane came from. and then he has to figure out who he is all over again. He has to figure out not only how to walk, but he has to figure out how to be Batman again, because Bane actually tells him, like, when you're ready you can come back and stop us, but
you can try. Because Gotham City has been without Harvey Dent, and couldn't find Batman for years, and Joker was no longer around either, and the crime for some reason didn't disappear. There was still crime. It might have been minor, but once Bane came onto the scene, he took everything to a completely different level.
And once Batman
you talked about the penitentiary being blown up and criminals wandering into the streets.
Bane released them
all over again, and we see Scarface again. And I think we even saw the dude in prison in The Dark Knight too. I think he's one of the, other than Batman, Lucius Fox and all these other characters that we see in every movie, he's the only villain we see in all 3 movies. But he has a much bigger role here than he even did in... well, okay, I'll give you that.
He's there, but
he's there.
We're focusing on Bane. And all this time we're talking about Bane. There's Bane when Batman is in the same, when Bruce Wayne is in the same pit. There's this child they talk about. They got out of the pit, and all this time you think it's Bane because it makes sense to be Bane, but it's not. And this is where Batman Begins plays a role, because everything is tied in together. We get back to the roots. We get back to the Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins.
League of Shadows.
I mean,
it's the same thing.
And Marion Cotillard, she plays a vital role, and you never even figure out she's a villain until she's in your face and he's like, I'm your villain. But we also get to see Anne Hathaway's Catwoman.
Pretty cool old Catwoman.
And she shows up as a petty thief, as a cat burglar, if you would.
Yeah, that's what she is.
But at the end, she sticks around by Batman and she actually helps him out.
She's an anti-hero in this movie for some reason, so...
Yeah, but she does help Batman at the end.
I mean, yeah.
We also get introduced to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Robin.
Yeah,
although we don't figure out he's Robin until the very end. But there's so many stuff.
Once the whole trilogy concludes,
there's so many stuff happening.
But listen, Christopher Nolan said that he's not supposed to be Robin. It's just his name.
Yeah, it just made sense to do it at the time.
Yeah.
We completely agreed, because it was he lives in the keys to the...
Yeah, to the city and to the Batcave.
To the Batcave, and then you see Robin entering Batcave, and it's like...
And we see
then it ends,
Yeah, and Batman hanging down his mantle as Batman, and just Bruce Wayne taking a vacation around the world, and...
With Anne Hathaway's Catwoman.
Yeah.
So that's
and then there's that one moment in Paris at the very end that makes sense only if you watch the movie from beginning to end. Yeah. Hopefully I see you one day, Master. You won't have to talk with me. I'll just look at you, you'll look at me, and we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know. But...
So as far as the Dark Knight trilogy goes, you get 3 solid movies, and
definitely.
No matter what you want to do with it, they don't work without each other.
Well, only the first one works by itself.
First one works by itself, but the second one works by itself, I think. I think you can say second one works by itself.
Definitely.
But it makes a lot more sense if you actually watch the first one. But then the third one doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, if you don't watch
you know what? It actually makes sense. But it makes so much... You see, here's the thing.
It's a trilogy. That's why it's a trilogy. Yeah.
If you're looking at them movie by movie basis, they all make sense. They can all be good movies, but here's where the problem lies. First one sucks, second one's good, and then third one sucks, at least in the general opinion.
Yes.
Because you're looking at it as separate movies, but as trilogies, these make sense. But to me, they're always going to be great movies. And we're going to do a trilogy, top trilogies video. And I have this one at like number 2. For a reason. I like it.
Thank you for revealing that to the general audiences. Hopefully not many of you saw this video. And if you made it this far, thank you for doing so. We like it.
But the thing is, yeah, give us a like too. But the thing is, it's that good. It really is. The characters are on point. The story is I like the
And
story.
it's all rounded up with the amazing score by Hans Zimmer, man, in all three movies. So, and the score only changes subtly between the movies. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty much the same for every movie, but it's
But the
different.
thing is, the movie works on a general. As a general, every movie you want to look at it as every movie on its own, it works. But it is a trilogy, and they should be watched as a trilogy because if you binge watch all three of them,
That's a nice.
It's a nice,
That's a nice movie
epic.
marathon, man. That's a
that's a
good
nice
marathon.
epic thing.
That's a great
You watch
marathon.
You're eased in, and then with Batman Begins you're eased in. With Dark Knight you're gripped. You can't leave, and then the Rises really brings the whole thing to a nice close.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
And you can be like, well, what happened? Can we see that again? Like, we want to, because these whole actors portraying characters, they were on point.
Definitely. Christian
Casting
Bale is
wise.
and his Batman voice. Like, I actually appreciated the idea that Bruce Wayne has different voice than Batman does. So, Michael Keaton tried to do that in a way. Val Kilmer not so much. George Clooney he didn't even try. So seeing Christian Bale actually try to do that,
And actually not just try, but actually
she
do.
pulled it off really nicely. Where's your trigger?
He's been waiting all this time just to say those 3 words.
Where are they? I know, it sucks, but you know what? If you don't try, you
But
won't succeed.
it leaves a lasting impression. Not him though.
I can't imitate.
talking about
I can't
Christian
do Bane, but I think you can a little bit. At least you
Oh,
could.
no, there's a certain thing to it. You can't just do it.
Are you sure?
But yeah,
No, I know I can't. So I'm not. I tried.
on occasion
can't.
I can also do great Batman voice, but like I said, it actually there's a trigger to it. At least for me.
Where's the trigger? You triggered me, man.
So
You triggered my trigger.
if you haven't watched this, the question is why?
Yeah, go.
Listen,
That's why you probably watched this video. We pretty much
the thing
spoiled
is,
the
yeah, we
movies for
spoiled
you.
everything for you. Now it's like
Although-
you have to watch it because our review,
Although
our
you should watch it.
recollection of it is a little bit shady at times.
Yeah, we haven't seen
We
these
haven't
movies
seen
in
it
a
in
few
a while,
years.
so this is off memory at this point. But really, go watch them because really
Yeah,
they
if
are
you
that
think
good.
we got something wrong, it's because our
We
memories
probably
is-
did. Although I don't think we did, other than the Scarecrow thing we did. But
Yeah,
I think we're on point. But this shows you, even now after now watching this for a couple of years, you still remember stuff. It's
Yeah, it stays
it's
with you.
that good.
yeah,
It's that impactful. It's that good of a movie.
definitely. And
All 3 of them.
all 3 of them, definitely. Listen, I appreciate Dark Knight Rises more than I do Batman Begins, and I like The Dark Knight as much as I do The Dark Knight Rises. So to me, like, I can rate all these movies, but let's not.
We're not gonna rate them because there's
Very
no.
much like
we
we
didn't
did
do Man of Steel
Steel,
rating
so-
at the end because really there's no point. I mean, after this time, it's like you can give it a grade, but when you look at it, like this is 4 years
They're
later and
probably all.
everything stocks
Yeah,
up.
they're probably all.
Batman Begins makes sense after 12 years. It came out in 2005. This
Yeah.
is 2017, so 5 years later.
They still
as a-
hold, I mean-
they still hold up, and they're so nicely done. They're so well done. Not just from the story aspect, but you want to look at the plot. You want to look at the characters. They're so well done that even 10 years from now, you can still look at this and just be like, "This was
Those
good
are
Batman."
nice movies, yeah.
And even today, we got Ben Affleck's version that I really, really like. And I think he went darker even than Christian Bale did.
Definitely.
So, and I can't, but there's so much stuff happening with Warner Brothers now. Are they doing the movies? Are they not doing the movies? What the whole thing is there. No matter what happens there, no matter how many Ben Affleck Batman movies we got, we always gonna have.
Or other
there's-
Batman
yeah,
versions.
after that, because there's always gonna be Batmans, but none of them. If
The
you
Dark
wanna
Knight
do- if
trilogy
you
is
wanna
never
do-
gonna be
yeah.
forgotten.
You can't. No matter how many Batmans we get after this one, Dark Knight Trilogy is gonna be one of those you look back and say, "Now
That was a Batman movie.
that was a nice piece of cinematic marvel."
Or art, even.
Yeah,
Because it was
because
both.
it's gonna stack up even 10, 20 years from now. It's that good.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you didn't go watch it, hope we didn't ruin everything for you that much.
If we did,
have to
give us
spoil
like,
some
subscribe,
stuff.
and share, please.
Yeah, if you didn't, you can do the same. We're gonna be back next week with our top 10
I don't know.
or something.
I don't know
We're
what's.
gonna do something.
Stay tuned.
We're pre-recording stuff just because we won't get to do
This-
much stuff in June, and at least the first week of July.
The
so
schedule is worked out, but right now
we're pre-recording everything just for the sake of actually having stuff to post. So yeah, we'll be back next week with something. Until then, yeah.
Bash Bros up.